Hey guys, my name is Matsumiyo, and welcome to your episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I'll give my humble opinion on them. To get the format out of the way real quick, if you'd like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question that comes from Carter, and it is, would you like Ubisoft to make it so you can't get duplicate legendary items? I'm sick of finally getting one out of an alpha pack just for it to go to waste. Yes, 100%. I have no idea why Ubisoft is so firm in their stance of not changing their duplicate policy. There is a 3% chance to get a legendary in an alpha pack. So out of 100, which takes months on end if you just grind them out, it takes literally months playing the game to be able to get 100 alpha packs, for 3 of them to have a chance, and then seemingly all of them could be duplicates, is completely ridiculous. On top of the fact that this really is just a system to get people to buy alpha packs with the renown so that they no longer have renown, so that they are more likely to make purchases with real world money so that they can buy other cosmetic items. Why not reward your players who are just simply playing the game? Now, I fully understand that they're technically free. You don't have to spend any of your renown if you don't want to. It's essentially just giving you free items on top of everything else that you're getting. But I don't know why you would add in a system that is so incredibly frustrating and honestly doesn't feel rewarding when you actually get one. And so all in all, I completely agree with you on this one. I feel like we've talked about this in a previous Sunday Mailbox, but I wanted to bring it up again because I just find it so ridiculous that Ubisoft hasn't changed their stance or policy. The next question comes from Tom, and it is, what do you think about a defender for Siege with a bouncing Betty as a gadget? Damage less or equal to Capcan traps. So I definitely understand the appeal of adding something like this into Siege. If it works like in Call of Duty, where if it's activated, it will cause the gadget to fly up in the air, and if someone is standing nearby, they'll take damage. The way that you're able to mitigate the damage is either to outright see the gadget on the ground, take it out with your primary weapon, or to run over and then crouch down, and then the damage will go above your head, and you'll be completely safe. And so what's appealing about a gadget like this is that it allows for some dynamics between the two different sides. If you're trying to stop rushes because Ash has been super aggressive and you know that the offensive team has been really trying to push the objective as soon as they spawn, you could add this character to your roster and that will slow them down, or at least make them a little bit more reluctant to just kind of charge right on in. But it also gives someone who is on the receiving end a little bit of options to respond to the situation. As long as they know the sound cue or they recognize that it's there, they can just simply crouch or go prone, whatever it is that requires them to avoid the damage, and then they'll be completely safe. I actually think that that's a really cool concept. The few concerns I have for something like this, though, is that if you're able to place this literally anywhere, that could be quite frustrating to deal with. Yeah, Legion has this capability, but at least with Legion, you don't really have to worry about taking 50% of your damage seemingly out of nowhere. With a Capcan, you know where the spots are that he can place them, in doorways, obviously, and so you can check those positions reliably if you know that a Capcan is on their team. But with this operator, you're literally gonna have to be looking at the ground continuously, which I don't know would be the most enjoyable gameplay experience. On top of that, if you're able to pair this with a Capcan, that might be a recipe for disaster. Ubisoft kind of moved away from Capcan being able to one-shot operators because it was really annoying when that happened, but as soon as you pair this operator up with him, you're basically able to achieve that. Now granted, that requires 2 operators to be able to have that kind of combo, but as soon as you run through that doorway, also it activates the Betty there, and that person is no longer on the offensive team. So that's another worry that I have. And so let me know what you guys think about this idea. I do like the fact that there is interactions between offense and defense with a gadget like this, but I'm also reluctant by its very design. And so do you think this would be a good addition? Is this something that you would want Ubisoft to avoid? Give me your guys' thoughts down below. The next question comes from Steven, and it is, with the success of the Modern Warfare beta and seemingly perfect integration of cross-platform play, do you think that Ubisoft has plans to make Siege cross-console for Xbox and PlayStation? Would it be a good idea? Absolutely. I think that cross-platform is going to be the future. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that PC and consoles are now going to be going against each other for every video game out there, but PlayStation has just announced that the cross-platform beta is no longer in beta, and any developer, if they see fit, can take advantage of this technology, and I really hope that that happens to Rainbow Six Siege. The amount of benefits that this would bring to the game is staggering. Not only would it decrease queue times because there's now more people in queue, you have a lot more people to choose from, but also, hopefully, the skill-based matchmaking would be better as well. You don't have to look or broaden the matchmaking because you're having a hard time finding a Gold 1 player. There's way more Gold 1 players playing right now, and so you can have better or more fair matches. And probably the best benefit is that now you can play with your Xbox buddies when you're on PlayStation. You can be on your preferred platform without having to buy another copy of Rainbow Six Siege. And so I'm really holding on to hope that this is something that Ubisoft is seriously considering for the game, and really something that should be the standard for every upcoming multiplayer game out there. Now, with respect to PC versus console, that's where things get a bit more complicated, and if for a game like Rainbow Six Siege, it probably shouldn't happen. Because of the precision of a mouse and keyboard, and because on console you don't have aim assist, I really feel like there would be a too much of a disparity, and that would give PC players too much of an advantage. I'm sure there are some console players out there that would be able to compete at that higher level. Some people are incredible with a controller, but by and large, a mouse and keyboard just gives you that little bit of an edge. The reason why it works so well on Modern Warfare is that there was heavy aim assist when you were using a controller, and I think that kind of bridged the gap. You can't have that in a game like Rainbow Six Siege. Now, one way they could work around this is just like in the Modern Warfare beta, allow players to choose their different input device. So if they want to plug in a mouse and keyboard into their Xbox or their PlayStation and go against PC players, that could be available. And honestly, that could be the perfect solution to this, but they would need to have those options if this was the direction that they wanted to go. And so all in all, I completely agree with you. I really do believe that this should be the future for every multiplayer game out there, and that definitely should include Rainbow Six Siege. The next question is, do you think that Battlefield 5 has a chance to make a comeback once the Pacific Theater content comes out? I don't know if Battlefield 5 is going to have the same kind of comeback story that something like Battlefield 4 had. Even though Battlefield 4 had one of the worst launches ever, it was atrocious, it had a lot of things going for it. First of all, it was getting constant and consistent updates on a regular basis. Even though I enjoy the core gameplay loop of Battlefield 5, I find their weapons to be very satisfying. It's got some great benefits and it's got some great gameplay. It gets stale really quickly because you're just playing on the same maps over and over and over again. It doesn't have the same depths or tactics like Rainbow Six Siege, where you have to really learn the ins and outs of a map, and adds a lot of value in that way. You need to have continuous maps to be able to kind of get more of that content, get more of that enjoyment before it does become stale. That is something that Battlefield 4 did really well, and something that Battlefield 5 has really struggled with. I also think one of the things that really allowed Battlefield 4 to last as long as it did is that it just simply didn't have as much competition in the multiplayer department. There are a lot of amazing multiplayer games competing for players' time. Now, I'm sure people will argue with me on this one, but you got the whole Battle Royale genre out now. Destiny 2 just had their recent release. You got Rainbow Six Siege, which didn't even exist back in Battlefield 4 days. Of course, there's the new Call of Duty coming out. There are so many games out there that are really successful and are really well done, and so it's going to be really hard for DICE to be able to pull those players away to come play a game that really wasn't well received when it first came out. They're really gonna have to come out with something that's pretty impressive, and I'm not sure if that will be enough even if they do. And so even though I've really enjoyed the most recent Underground map that just came out, it has the same theme as Metro from the past Battlefield titles, but they've added kind of a twist to it. They've added some more flanking routes so it doesn't get bogged down as much. Even though this content is pretty good, I don't know if it's gonna be enough to have the resurgence that people are hoping for. Obviously, only time will tell. I'm hopeful because I really enjoyed the Battlefield franchise. I want to see Battlefield kind of rise up to what I think it can be, but if I had to guess, we're gonna have to wait for Battlefield 6 or whatever they come up with for people to get really interested in Battlefield once again. The next question is, during the preparation phase, do you think that once the location of the objectives are found, it should mark on the spawn location map before the round starts? It would make the visualization easier for where exactly you want to spawn. I know this doesn't apply to seasoned players as they know the maps well, but it would help newer players decide where they want to go from. That is a fantastic idea. The difficult part about Rainbow Six Siege is that there is an incredible amount to learn. And for most veterans, this is second nature. If you know that they're in the garage, well, you know that you need to spawn on that part of the map. But for someone who is brand new, they don't know that. And so for the first minute of the round, they're just simply trying to move from one side of the map all the way over to the other, which obviously isn't very optimal. And so if there was this great quality of life improvement that literally gave a visual representation of where those objectives were located, I think that that would be a great thing for those new players. I will admit that I'm kind of surprised that this already isn't a part of the game. Maybe one of the reasons why Ubisoft hasn't done this yet is that it could be quite challenging to relay this information properly, because obviously it's a 2D map, but Siege has multiple floors. How do you let players know on that 2D map where the objective is? But even if they just kind of put an indicator on what part of the map it is, as soon as they spawn on in, they'll realize, oh, it's on the top floor, but now they know that it's on that side. That could just simply be enough. But all in all, I think that this is a great idea, a great quality of life improvement, and I would love for Ubisoft to add this, especially for those new players. But yeah, guys, that is what it for today's episode of Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Do you like the idea of having cross-platform added into Siege? Do you think that'd be a good idea? Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. As always, if you'd like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can always leave a comment or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until next time, guys, have a good one and take it easy.